Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut this stylish underbust princess dart blouse. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So first I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to underbust and waistline. So now I'll go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5, and I'll also mark this all the way to the pattern paper. So from my waistline I added additional 7 inches because of the elongated effect at the side of the dress. So after now I'll mark a dart intake of 1 inch at both sides. So after marking that, I'll go ahead and come down by 4 inches. So now I'll go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect those marks that I made from the underbust to the waist, and from the waistline down to the 4 inches after the waistline for the dart intake. So after now I'll place my curved drew and I'll connect from the bust down to the underbust, and after that I'll go ahead to connect from the bust down to the underbust at this other side. Now this is what I have, and the next step is to create a princess dart effect. I'll go ahead and divide my armhole into 2, but before doing that I will be using my marker to outline my pattern to make it more visible for you to see. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide my armhole into 2, or my chest line, and I'll fold my tape. Now I'll mark. From that point I'll connect from the armhole to the bust line, and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'm going to go ahead to mark a dart intake of 1/2 inch at both sides. After I'm done marking, I'll be extending this all the way to the initial line, and this is what I have. Now I'll go ahead to outline this also to make it more visible for you to see. After I'm done outlining this, I'll be going out by 1 inch by the side, and I'll go ahead to extend that dart. So that 1 inch is from the 1/2 inch we marked at both sides initially. I'll connect it back to the armhole, and this is what I have. Now I'll mark out my neckline. So for my neckline I used the measurement of 3 by 2 inches because the neckline is a bit high. So I used my marker to reconnect. Now I'm going to be inserting my body measurement. At the bust, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Measure this dart intake of 1 inch, replace it and add my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my under bust divided by 4. Measure the dart intake and replace and add the sewing allowance. Here I'll also mark my waist circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake, add my sewing allowance. Now going over to the blouse length, I'm going to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. So after this I'll go ahead and connect from the under bust to the bust, and from that point to the waistline, and from the waistline to the blouse length. And after I'm done connecting this, I'll use my marker to outline, and we'll go ahead to alter the pattern to get the design. So now I'm going to come up by 1 inch from my chest line, then come up by 1/2 inch here, and I'll go ahead to connect at this point. Then I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline this. After I'm done outlining, the next step is to work on the lower part of the dress. So from the lower part of this dress, I'm going to go ahead to place my tape, and I'll come up by 4 inches at this point, and then from here I will connect it, blend in my dart, and I'll be extending it to the other side. So note, from my waist to my full blouse length is about 7 inches. So I'll just go ahead and cut out this blouse. So if you have any question regarding this tutorial, please leave it at the comment section, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button. So you can also follow me on my Instagram page at Maki's Closet, or you can follow me on my personal page at Maki Sweet. So after I'm done cutting, this is what I have. And now we are going to cut out the bust dart, and to get your bust dart is your shoulder to waist in front minus your shoulder to waist at the back. So mine is 1.5. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect. So you'll be cutting this out, or you go ahead to blend it out before cutting out your pattern. So now moving over to the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements just like we did for the front, only that I have a zipper at the back, and my shoulder to waist at the back now is 15.5. I'll just place my tape to show you. My shoulder to waist at the front is 17.5. After that, I added extra 7 inches, just like we added extra 7 inches for the front. So I'll go ahead and mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I will be marking this all the way from the upper part to the lower part of this pattern. Now I'll be marking 1/2 inch on both sides, and I'll also extend it all the way down, and also I will do this on the other side. So after I'm done connecting all this, I'll just come down by 1 inch. I'll go ahead to connect it all the way to the upper part on both sides. So after this, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Here I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and add my sewing allowance. Here I'm going to go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and add my sewing allowance. And I'll be connecting this all the way up, and I'll extend it to the lower part of my pattern and go ahead to use my marker to outline the rest of my pattern this way. So after I'm done doing that, I'll divide my armhole into 2 and then reconnect it to the armhole. Then I'll also go out by 1/2 inch and reconnect it back to the armhole. So this is what I have for the back pattern. And also for the neckline, I'll be marking 3 inches by 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect it and then go ahead to use my marker to outline this. After I'm done outlining this, I'll just go ahead and take it all the way to the other side. So this is actually a pattern for another dress, but it is similar, so I'm using it also for the back. So here at the waist, I marked 1/2 inch, and I'll extend it all the way down and then extend it up. This is to get rid of the bulginess at the back of the dress. So here I went up by 3 inches, and I'll be connecting it to the other end of my pattern this way. So after that, I'll just go ahead and cut out this pattern. So at this point, if you have any question, please don't forget to leave your question at the comment section. So after I'm done cutting this, we'll move over to the sleeve of the dress. So for the sleeve, here is my pattern paper, and I'll mark 1/2 inch or 1 for my starting point. After that, I'll go ahead and rule a line at this point, and after ruling a line, I'll go ahead to start marking my shoulder to elbow point, and then my shoulder to my sleeve length. So you're going to work with any sleeve length of your choice. So after marking that, I'll go ahead to rule a line at those points, and I'll go ahead and also outline the other side. So after I'm done doing this, I'll mark my sleeve cap height. To get that is your bust divided by 12 plus 0.5, and mine is 3.25, but I like using 3.5. So I'll go ahead and mark my armhole circumference divided by 2. My armhole circumference is 16 inches divided by 2. I'll mark 8 inches. So after I'm done marking that, so I'll go ahead and place my ruler, and I'll connect from that armhole circumference divided by 2 from there to the upper part. And after I'm done marking this, I'll be dividing what I have here into 2. After dividing this, I'm going to go ahead to mark. After I'm done marking, I'll divide here into 2 again, and I'll mark, and I'll come up by 1/2 at that point. Here I'll place divide by 2, and I'll mark, come down by 1/2 inch from this point. Now I'm going to connect all these marks now from the midpoint, which is the initial line, I'll connect it all the way up, and then from that midpoint I'll connect it to the lower part and take it to the end of my armhole circumference. So here is what I have, and the next step is to go ahead and use my marker to outline this. And after I'm done outlining this, I'll just go ahead. So the next step I'll take is to go ahead to insert my elbow circumference divided by 2. Add my sewing allowance, and then here I'll go ahead and mark my wrist circumference divided by 2, what I have at the lower part, and add my sewing allowance. And after that, I'll just connect this all the way to the lower part of the pattern. So next, I'll just go ahead and I will cut this out. After I'm done cutting out, here I'll add 1/2 inch on top, which will serve as a joining allowance. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also join us in our next video. Thanks.